Yes, this, my friends, is about to be a major moment in sports. For those who are watching, I'd like to introduce myself for those who have never watched. My name is Eric A. Bradley, and I'm your host. But in the sport of boxing, let me explain real clear there are no such thing as ghosts. And that's what you're about to see right now. So, welcome to the fight show. The epic heavyweight battle is the rendition. The ultimate breakdown is the show you're about to watch. So, let me know where you guys are watching from. But right now, it's time to get it popping. We're about to go into the studio and take you for a ride. So after we get done, you're going to have conversation. We're going to have some Q&As. So get your popcorn ready. It's about to go down. On the fight show, special shouts out to all of you. So make sure you drop your names in the comment box because as we get going, we will be chopping it up together. This will be one of the most interactive conversations about this fight in heavyweight boxing that has ever happened. And I'm glad to do it with you. Thanks for taking the time to tune in to the fight show. Let's. I told you we were going to get this thing going. And I told you that it was not going to be just a fly-by-night breakdown, that we were going to give you in-depth understanding. But keep in mind, the objective of this fight will totally play out within the next couple of minutes. So stay with us as we get ready to get into the Wilder versus Fury 3 super fight as it proved to be. But let's question that strategy right now on the fight show breakdown. I said it once, I said it twice. Styles make fights. Keep in mind and bear with me when we go into this breakdown how important it is to not overlook the key objective. Good scenario. This analogy takes us back to when I was growing up. First time I had a car, paying tons of money trying to get things fixed mechanically, but I would overlook the first important thing. Before anything electronic goes out in your car, check the fuses. First, you can save yourself thousands of dollars. The same thing with this Deontay Wilder Tyson Fury match. Keep this in mind. Styles make fights. This was a slugger, Deontay Wilder, versus a boxer puncher. I call him a boxer puncher now because he's been working on power. So when you're focusing on landing power throughout the fight, then you are a boxer slash puncher. At any time, he can change the narrative and become a pure boxer once again. That's the benefits in being well-rounded and versed in depth. Now let's take a look at what we see in Malik Scott and Deontay Wilder's strategy. Their strategy was take control of the center of the ring, use the jab, steady, and go to the body. Concept. Use the jab, control the center of the ring, go to the body. Sounds like a beautiful concept to me. And concept. The reality is you're locking up the key rule of the first rule of valor, which is styles make fights. So strategy is irrelevant. If you're overlooking the fuse box, you're going to pay a handsome price for an alternator when you only needed a fuse. Stick to the right plan. Now we won't get into the long count because that's an entirely different show. So if you have not subscribed, so you can see that in-depth breakdown in what the top key people in the industry like Jack Reese say about this scenario, you'll want to subscribe so you can see more in depth what these type things and scenarios are measured against so that there's clarity. But it is an entirely different baggage to unlock, so we will get into that later. But on to the conversation at hand. But I will add that when you knock someone down, what happens is you get a dopamine rush. The fact that you don't get to finish that celebration you go on an instant crash like when you drink a lot of sugar. Caffeine, they offer a crash, and that's what happens as a byproduct of not having the ability to finish off that celebration. So let's say that does play a role, but not key role. Next thing is stylistics, which is basically when you fight a certain particular style, there's a style to counter that style. And if that guy uses bits and pieces, then you use bits and pieces to counter what they're doing. Take away what they do great. And the key in doing this is taking away, giving yourself angles and the proper technique to use in order to get your guy, which is the guy you're fighting, in your scope so that you can line them up. And the way to do that is off of your back foot, like I spoke to in the prior video before the fight. I gave them the recipe. I saw what they were going to do. Hey, maybe it works. Maybe they get that 10 count and I'm not even needing to do this video, but they didn't. And what happens when you can't line a guy up, you can't hit him with the big shots that you want to, and he has the ability to continue to do what he wants to, which is brawl when he wants to and box when he wants to. But when you draw him back off of your back foot, that's why I say it's so important that you learn the concepts and the theory of boxing before trying to implement it, because you will run into these hurdles. Malik Scott is an experienced boxer. When you look at Malik Scott as an experienced boxer, that means he knows something. But even with experience and being taught and groomed, there are things that will be left off the plate, and these are the repercussions. Remember, people, fighting off your back foot isn't about running. It's about being able to line your opponent up the way that is required, and it also gives you control over the boxing ring. This will allow you to pull back that bow and arrow and have space to execute what you're trying to, because they're thinking of moving forward, less likely to keep their head off the line, so they're easier to line up with a serious clean punch that will not miss. It's less likely that it'll miss because you're lining them up and they're walking into it. They're shrinking down, they're putting themselves in the line of your fire, and you're able, like a sniper, to take them out. These are the key things that people miss in boxing. Now, as you see, the reality is this. They never used the ability to work off of the back foot. It never was a part of the game plan. Why do you think that is? That's my question to you. Why would they avoid or elude the most important facet of styles make fights, how to deal with particular styles? Because you get enamored with your plan, what you want to do, what you think is best. The reality is boxing is a playlist already built. That's why we do what we do, to give you the boxing playlist of line by line, all of the things that you'll run into in the scenario. That's why we have Top Trainer U. It's not because there's not a space for this, it's because there's totally a space for it, because trainers do not understand this. And in the heat of fire and battle, you'll run into these scenarios that you do not understand how to fix. And this, my friend, is one of them. The results of this is they wanted to control the center of the ring, but they ended up gassing out because he wanted to do what they wanted to do. The muscles became inflamed with lactic acid and blood and oxygen, which sucks the oxygen directly out of you. That's why we always tell our guys, understand how to weight train. We have a system that you have to do in order to not end up that way. Muscles are just exhausted from lactic acid. You're exhausted now. So that game plan only continue to put you back in this spiral that I gotta depend on it, or if I don't get the knockout, then that's kind of it, because that's where we laid our eggs. And that's not how you go about it. Boxing is about the sweet science. Hit and not get hit. They simply went on a game plan that was relying on showing you what I can do, and hopefully this results in a KO. That's not boxing. That's the breakdown for now. For those of you who have never really had true guidance on how to look at this thing of boxing, our deep lineage of well over 120 years goes into this channel, goes into this page. So continue to follow us, subscribe at Master Boxing across the board. And we got you covered. And I'll see you soon in the winner's circle. So, as I said, everybody, you'd be in a position where you were going to learn some things. You're going to see some things. And it's a beautiful thing that now you're able to shine with us and learn a little bit more in depth about the boxing game from inside. What happens behind the closed doors when these guys are totally in a position where they do not know what to do, how to train. What we're going to do right now is go into fan questions. Over the past week since this fight has happened, there's been just some very interesting questions, and I think you'd like to hear. If you have anything you want to add, make sure you drop it down in the comment box. And let's get our people up here. Salute from my guys, TSOB, Fleming. That's a strike against you. I see Paul Harbor is in the building. These are members of the School of Boxing, the educated coaches coming up in the game. Hands down. Let's see my man. He said I was saying a lot without saying nothing. Oh, maybe he was talking to the video. Mr. Anthony Gambita, what's going on? Representing Cleveland, Ohio. It's good to see you, brother. What's good, man? Welcome. Hey, you guys got to get into that school so you can see kind of what we do. You won last week, and that's what we do with our people who are on. They watch. We make sure that they have something that they can really look forward to. So we're giving people an opportunity to see what we do and how does a real coaching world look like from the inside out. That's what we're doing. Let's get to these questions, man. Let me see, Anthony. Everything's good. Wade Matthews, special shouts out to you, brother. It's all good, man. We're just trying to give some insight and talk about the spectacular performance, one from Tyson Fury, the spectacular coaching job done by Sugar Hill, and the masterful late round fight plan and adjustment made by Team Fury. That was great. It was absolutely solid. Let me see. Would Wilder's going away from the body game plan the linchpin of his defeat? Shannon Briggs said it best. And I knew this immediately. After the first 4 punches Wilder threw, and I'm going to do this one because it's really relevant. So, Carice Thompson, great question. There's only so much energy in a car because you can only put so much gas in it. And if it's an electric car, it can only be done, you can only charge it for so long. And when you are dealing with physics, you have to understand management is 99.9% of it. Yeah, you may have a super fast car, but at the same time, don't press the pedal to the metal because you can only last so long. So Wilder comes out with a certain amount of power and pressure and energy. And after the third jab to the body, I already knew that his commitment to it was too much. You always want to get commitments to the body, but the difference is it's a method, it's an energy level that you have to display. And at the same time, there's a manner of volume that you have to stay within those confines. There's a space in recovery that you have to. He did none of it. It was jab, 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 like he was doing mitts. The difference is there's a 6'9", 300-pound man standing in front of you who can outbox you, and just simply is a different level when it comes down to boxing IQ. So when I saw that, what it says is Wilder was excited. He wanted to set the tone. Malik Scott, I don't know if he really spoke to pacing himself, but when it comes to understanding what it takes to pace, it has to be muscle memory. You can say it. And Wilder's been fighting for over a decade now, right? And I tell you all, it takes well over a decade to accrue muscle memory from boxing. All right. Look at the people who are very successful and seen as elite boxers. You'll go over to females, Clarissa Shields. Special shouts out, Clarissa. She has a match coming up. So, but the difference is she's been through 2 Olympics, right? Won gold in both. The experience, she can tell you with the experience she got from the first one, when she got to the second one, it was like, oh, it's some more stuff. And the pace and an understanding, and you want to do better than the last time you were there. If you look at all of these fighters who've done well in boxing, all of the names, Keith Thurman, Sean Porter, and Crawford, all of those guys, Danny Garcia, they all had astute amateur careers in boxing. That's all that muscle memory, from defense to head movement to knowing what pace to throw the jab. And then you learn to become a prize fighter. And it's important that, I don't know, that we make it clear about these people who are coming into the game delusional on what they see on television, because what you see on television is not what's really happening. Okay. It's so much more. And it's just like when you see a plane or a rocket take off from NASA, right? And you're like, man, that's cool. But guess what you're thinking when you see those astronauts and seeing what they have to do? You're like, no way I can do that. If you really saw the inside and the inner guts of boxing, you'd be saying the exact same thing. First of all, as I spoke to a coach yesterday, I told him, he's a football coach, and I was like, yeah, man, in boxing is so many rules. He said, really? I thought it was like the same rules. I said, every state has different rules. Every level, every tournament, they all have different rules. If people understood how much you had to learn when you came into boxing, they'd go ahead and stop jumping out of school to box, and they'd be going to be brain surgeons, because it's that much that you really have to know. That's the bottom line. So that was a great question. Let's see. So the weight increase, do I think what his weight increased? So it wasn't. So the answer to the last question is, it wasn't the fact that he went away from the game plan. He didn't have the gas to execute the game plan. And I like to go in and really break things down so it's clear. The balance, the amount of energy wasted, the massive muscles added aren't what you use to get better in boxing. That's what you do after your training camps, and you want to just feel a certain way, then you can do those type exercises. But I think Wilder's weight increase affected his stamina. If he would have gained the weight and understand how to use it, like Ali did rope-a-dope, he didn't use any energy. He took George Foreman, a world championship fighter, as you saw on the clip that I just posted on the studio set. George Foreman was one of those victims that walked into the right hand. It's imperative that you understand that if you understand breathing, if you understand pacing, if you understand algorithms of a fighter, if you understand craft, how to be cagey. See, Tyson Fury's learning from Sugar Hill and the Kronk way, the caginess in which a fighter operates, tying him up, leaning on his head, cutting the circulation off to his neck. Those are things Muhammad Ali mastered. These are the things that he's learning. And this kind of what we teach. We teach skills, techniques, skill sets, the concepts. Then you got to understand theory. And then you learn how to make that your craft. And once you get it to your craft, then you become cagey. These are phases of fighters that most casual fans or even diehard fans don't even know that they exist, but they do. And after you do that, that's when you start to understand the algorithm of a fighter, and all those things kick in. So hopefully that makes sense to you. If it does, give me a thumbs up. Let me see. Sugar Hill put some sugar on that game plan for sure, but amazing performance by both fighters. And it was amazing performance. What's up, Martinez. Is congratulations, man. I see you got married. God bless you, brother. Another brother in the school. But the thing about having that consciousness of the Kronk gym, what they're doing, the masterful performance by Tyson, by recovering and realizing, and there was some concern, but Tyson Fury is one thing, he stays respectful, meaning he respects the other fight. He's not going to tell you that, but he respects the other fighters. In his mind, he's thinking Deontay Wilder is driving a 18-wheeler truck through his living room and has guns. And that's where he keeps his mind. Floyd Mayweather has that same thing. Sugar Ray Leonard. These guys who just have the ability, Ali, they fear the person in front of them. They use that to turn on their senses, and then they can be more astute with their reflexes, reaction, perception. It just makes them better. So one of my trainers, Harbor, says, does the defense was lacking? Did you think Wilder's defense was lacking? I think not only was his defense lacking, but it's hard to have defense when you don't understand the other postures. And see, this is where we're going to, great question, Paul, because this sets us up for why we teach the peekaboo or the shell, because these are postures that you can use when you're languaging on the ropes. These are postures when you're crouching that you can use when you're exhausted in a fight like that. Hands up here, how you gonna block this? All right. If you're doing boom, boom, hand. I think Wilder had a fractured rib, and it was because of those shots. Fury was sneaking some back in. So don't you underestimate what Fury was getting off, because Fury was masterful in his boxing. It was so many things that he did. He showed so many wrinkles that you guys didn't even catch it. I never heard anyone talking about the hip shots. I never heard anyone talking about how he utilized the little right hook to Wilder's rib when no one was paying attention. That's when Tyson Fury was doing damage. When he was leaning on him, yeah, that's obvious to the eye. But when in boxing, it's the things that are sleight of eye, like magic tricks. And once you start to learn these things, that's when boxing starts to become what we call the sweet science. Until you do know those things, you're just totally guessing. But that was a great question. And his defense was truly lacking. But these are heavyweight boxers. One punch. Whoever can get that one punch to be the difference maker, that's where that all comes in, Coach. And I'm going to definitely hit you other guys up with your questions. I see I have about 6 questions waiting. Big thing about it is make sure that you understand why these guys are in the position they're in. Let me see. He said Wilder's not an orthodox boxer who just really just able to hit hard. Oh, no, well, yeah. The skill set is there. It's just he just doesn't have muscle memory. When you have such an equalizer, why go away from it if it's not broken? It almost works. If there are different referees and they decide to stop the fight when Fury goes down, it's 2 KOs for Wilder. But the fact that Fury got 10 counts, 15-second counts, these things matter. Now you got to be able to beat them in a way that you got to act like you got to get a decision. So he didn't go in there to get a decision. He threw hard punches to knock Tyson Fury out. So lack of defense for professional prize fighters. You can say that, but these guys are heavyweight. All it takes is one. So whoever has enough counter punch skills or enough that heat, that's when it counts most, man. So if he mastered postures, that stuff matters. Ali mastered postures. George Foreman mastered postures from Archie Moore. The turtle shell. Boom, boom. That flicks. I seen Foreman catch tons of right hand like you do when you parry out of the Philly shell. Y'all just don't know what you're looking at. That's all. But it's been a lot of masterful boxing. Let me see. That makes sense. Exactly what you're saying. Yeah. I had an old boxing coach who motto was space, pace, then grace. Yeah. Yeah. You just illuminated those words. And thanks, Carice Thompson. It's very important that people do, like I said, let's be cut to the chase. Why people are enamored with boxing because it looks cool, and you want to be able to apply those skills in life, whether you're working with your children or if you're working with neighborhood people, whether you're just at the gym training and you want to know the skills just in case, you're with your girl and something jump off, you want to have them skills just in case. All right. If you play other sports, look at the MMA world, how humongous that audience and crowd is. You got jiu-jitsu, Brazilian jiu-jitsu, Hapkido, Muchada, grappling, Greco-Roman wrestling. It's so many different categories of combat sports. Everybody want to know some boxing. So when you learn in that boxing, those are things that are invisible to the naked eye for you. Those skills, those crafts, those postures. And styles are a thing of the past when it comes down to it. There's not going to be another Mike Tyson. There's not going to be a guy who just uses peekaboo boxing and wins all his fights, because there's an antidote for it. A great steady jab, understanding distance and knowing angles and how to tie guys up, walk them back. Okay, that's the recipe. But if you just use it in a posture when you need it and when it comes into play, then you can execute different. Boom. That's why we teach all of the postures, whether it's a cutie style posture, whether it's a Philly shell, whether it's a rolling shoulder, whether it's a peekaboo, whether it's a crossbar block of any sort, turtle shell, it does not matter. We do not discriminate. The Dempsey roll. These things, this is what we teach in the School of Boxing, top trainer program. It just gives you insight to not only that do these things exist, but what they do is they give you a path in learning, and that helps you a lot. So make sure you guys continue to stay close, get yourself an opportunity to really see some of this stuff front and center. And for those of you who are doing questions really good, we're going to make sure we pop you guys. Make sure you we get your email. Can you talk about how Fury had such graceful footwork, set up his jab and straight combo game? Yes, I am. Which eventually led to the devastating hook. I would also like to hear your thoughts on Fury's inside game when he closed the gap on Wilder straight. And this is see, I was getting to Fury, but what I've been hearing is all of this stuff about Wilder. And I did a show based upon Wilder's, and I've done segments on Fury, period. So you can definitely find those. But Fury, what it takes to hear a trainer, this is the brilliance and the IQ of Fury. Okay. You can't go into one training camp with any coach in the world, including myself, and exercise all of the skills that you learn. Tyson Fury he's trained with Emmanuel Stewart. So did Deontay Wilder. That's why Emmanuel Stewart said that these guys would meet one day. And if you watched the pay-per-view, you saw that quote. If not, we're going to show it in the film study next Wednesday. And for those of you who are on this show right now watching, we're doing a film study of this fight next Wednesday. It's proprietary to the School of Boxing, but subscribe to the website. You can find that on the page, and you'll get the invitation. We're going to choose 10 people to take part in a film study that even guys like George Kambosos has been a part of one of the film studies, and WBO champ Otis Griffin, my man, has been a part of the film study. People, Chop Corley, former WBO champion. Everything that we do in these things really breaks things down, and it really is like this, but I'm calling the fight. So we'll be actually watching the fight. So if you haven't seen the fight, it's a great time to watch the fight with the Real Fight Doctor. It's going to be beautiful. So let's check it out. So yes, so the skill set that Tyson Fury showed, The ability to take a skill and transfer it into the ring after one training camp is crazy. So he walked Deontay Wilder down the last fight. Now you can see that that was real, regardless of what allegations. The reality of it is this dude has a skill set that goes beyond power, size. And so he used his skills in sets in order to get himself where he wanted to and to control the fight. When you saw him slipping and getting past the shots to close the distance to work inside, that's where he knew his work. That's where you saw the bumping of elbows, the bumping of shoulders, maneuvering of hips, inside tactics. That's one of the ways he cracked Deontay's or bruised or cracked his rib. Now, don't quote me on that. I'm not 100%. It's been so many tabloids going out. I got to take it as Bible because I understand what it takes to break a feather rib because I teach fighters to do it. And once you start to get in the upper echelon and learning, you start learning those things, how to take them out of there with them shots. It's totally impressive. Knowing how to use his size, he could have been shorter than Wilder and been as dangerous because he understands how to use leverage. He understands how to bend his knees. As tall as he is, he sits down in his postures and work and knows how to put you in the next position. And those things catapult you in the sport. Now he's in there with 2 training camps. He was going to execute. It's hard to get over those perfect right hands of Deontay Wilder. As you see, even with the greatest training you could get, he still got dropped twice. That's a dangerous man. So for him to be able to figure it out and work and do and apply the stuff that Sugar Hill has trained and worked on him to do shows you how difficult boxing is and how high his boxing IQ is. Explain why Wilder didn't use fundamentals of boxing by attacking only when Fury was just in range. And why didn't he do more feints and use the left hook and shell up and reset? Well, it sounds like Carlo M, special shouts out to YouTube family, must ask to join his corner because these are things that you can call for, but they went out with the game plan. If you watch the video at the very beginning, the game plan was to get the knockout. It wasn't to sit around and offset all of these different things. His defense wasn't in the place because after throwing all of that stuff, like I said, he spent too much money, meaning he wasted too much energy. He shot the gas out of the hybrid. You know what I'm saying? And hybrids run on electricity. He just wasted too much gas to be in consciousness. He fought from sheer heart instinct after that. So to make it 11 rounds with a 6'9" fighter, further than you did the last time, even though they stopped it last time, but Wilder was really, truly not in the condition the last time to continue to take that punishment because he was getting knocked down. He was exhausted. He didn't see that really coming. The game plan wasn't there. This time he knew the game plan was happening, but they wanted to impose their game plan, and he felt like he could do it because he's bigger. And hence is why we're going to get into why it's advantageous to stay away from weight training heavily when you're a boxer and you're trying to learn to become a better prize fighter. It's very hard. Let's see what the other questions. What do you think was the best about Fury's approach? The best thing about his approach is that he was steady with his movement. Even when Wilder was busy, he could have really got caught in quicksand and got stuck and his feet in cement, which he didn't do. He could have got caught in corner. See, you people don't realize what he overcame. He could have got caught like every other fighter that Wilder has faced. They get caught in quicksand on Quiz Street and they cannot figure it out. And they're just so overwhelmed because in that first round, Tyson was like, whoa.
but he overcame that, and that takes a level of fortitude. So the impressive thing is that he made an adjustment that casual fans or even diehard fans don't understand when they see it. That's how he made it to the 11th round. That's how he had 3 knockdowns. That's how he continued to bang and batter Wilder when Wilder was at his most offensive. Those things take a skill set, wrinkles, craft, and caginess. So special shouts out to those skills that he's embodied. That's what's impressive, man. Let me see. Damn, I could listen to your breakdown all day. A true scholar. Thanks for the free game. Yeah, but boxing is college. So I can give tips and I can give insight and I can give you an entire video, but it's a college. There's no one book that can make you a doctor. There's no one book that can make you a lawyer. You have to read continuously. It has to be not only the depth of what you're learning. That's why we have a school for our coaches, our course for our trainers, because they can't just learn it by watching a video. I got 10,000 videos on this page, techniques and everything. Guess what? You still can't master boxing because it's not in a process. It's not in a school format. In our school, the School of Boxing, that's where you learn how to do it in the formats, because there's so much that you got to learn. Think of every time you listen to a boxing video or a boxing scholar talk, you learn 5 things. Now, some people watch YouTube all day and they can never piece it all together. So you have to learn how to do that. That's what we do. We break it down. Excuse me. I felt when he rocked Fury the first time, he should have stood him up and went to work instead of looping shots that made minimal impact. Reinhold Jenkins, you look like my first cousin, man. He's my favorite cousin too. So special shouts out to you, brother. It's easier said than done when you're out of gas. Have you ever done a workout? Has a trainer ever took you through a workout? Or if you ever had been in a training session with a trainer and they want you to do 10 more squats, jump squats, 30 more burpees, you're at the point where, you're about to regurgitate. That is right here. You're shaking because your body is going into total reflux. It's freaking out. When you exhaust yourself in the first 2 rounds, nothing else is logical. What you saw was the instinct of Wilder, the maniacal fighter inside of him, the bronze bomber. There was no strategy with that. He was in that place that only fighters are or get to go. And that's why there's no answer. If you're going to learn boxing, even with the hand of Thor, like Deontay Wilder has, it takes more than that. And it got him to 41 knockouts, straight knockouts. And if you got 2 different referees, it's 43 knockouts because he's knocked Fury out twice. Basic 10-second counts. This dude, even with power like that, going down is arguably the hardest one-punch knockout artist in boxing history, and rightfully so. Okay? It took a 6'9", 300-pound man to stand up to his punches, and he didn't stand up to him all the way. With all of that, he still got to learn more boxing. That's how hard boxing is. Thank you for that question, brother. Thank you, Wilder, for showing the heart of a champion. Most fighters don't take fights. They will lose nowadays. Yeah, he didn't think he was going to lose. But yeah, most fighters will fight anybody. That's why they're fighters. Accountants can count anybody's money. That's why they're accountants. A lawyer will walk with anybody in court with $5,000 because they are lawyers. They represent people. And Wilder is a fighter. A lot of people ask me about, you tell me you want to become a fighter They leave messages on the page. They leave it on, but and they want me to respond to them honestly. And I tell them, fighters fight, talkers talk. If you're a fighter, you want to fight, you'd have found a gym or you'd started a street fight league, just like people who Kimbo Slice. They did that because they real fighters. You know what I'm saying? Milkmen deliver milk. You know what I'm saying? Vegans don't eat meat. Who you are is what you are. I teach boxing every day of the week. I'm teaching boxing because that's what I do. I write, I illustrate, I do conferences, I shoot mountains of boxing knowledge, whether it's in show format or if it's in tutorial format or if it's in lesson format or clinical format. I teach boxing. So for those of you who are saying they want to be fighters, but they are still talking about it, you're not a real fighter because fighters fight. Do we message our email on Messenger on the Facebook page to get considered to the fight recap next Wednesday? You can do that, or you can email this email address. Let me put it up here for you so you'll all understand boxing a little bit better, and you'll be better for it. So here's the email with your, and we're going to accept 10 people. So if you're trying to be a part of that, make sure, and that is the film study of this fight broken down, and it's the fight, the entirety. It's a beautiful thing. So here it is on the screen. It's a powerful lesson. Like I said, we've done it with Rayon Monderes, who's under Jack Reese. We've done conversations with all of the top people, and what happens in these film studies is you have a perspective of a real student, and that there is a much larger game and a much larger visual and viewpoint in the sport of boxing. And so that's all it is, man. So let me see. He too skilled for Wilder. He's very skilled, but like I said, you change the referees and they could stop the fight in the 12th round, the first fight, or in that fight. So then no one has that argument. So I'm not here on anybody's side, but the reality of boxing, I say it once, I say it twice. My name is Eric A. Bradley, and I am your host. But one thing you better believe, and this me, in boxing, there are no such thing as ghosts. Everybody loses to somebody, period. Because there's game plans, there's timing, catching people at the right place, other people with different skill sets, different craft levels. So, I mean, you can be a fan of people, that's fine. But, like I said, that could have been knockout. I mean, you set your timer, it was 15 seconds. But I'm going to speak to the conversation about why do referees, aren't they held accountable? Let me see this question here. I got a Q&A for you, a quick trivia, and I want to see how many knockdowns happened on the fight. Here's a good question. Fan questions once again. Can Fury beat Usyk, or what problems will Usyk give him? This is the thing. Anthony Joshua was supposed to knock Usyk out. And then people started to really put on their thinking caps and they realized, But before the fight happened, he was 100% across the board. And then when people started to really think about it, they said, this dude, Usyk, is the real deal. Anthony Joshua is big and stiff. And there you go. Not only did he win, he dominated. Yeah. A couple of rounds go left or right, you out of there. You're knocked out. to be able to fight against someone like Fury, you got to be able to move and pull him back and use back feet and lateral feet. And that's the difference. I said it before the fight, what Wilder could have done. I say it now. Usyk has those movements. He understands boxing. And when you understand boxing, you can be any fighter in the world. I don't want to grave about this dude any more than I have to, but I have to talk about the accomplishments. He beat every man that they put in front of him. And that's Floyd, because he understood all of the mechanics, the muscle memory that was necessary to beat any style fighter and take whatever they did great away from him. And that's the thing. So yeah, Usyk is a serious problem, man. So I wanted to do a trivia, but I answered so many questions, and I thank all of you for taking the time. For those of you who are wanting to take part, make sure you subscribe for this film study. And if you want to learn that footwork stuff, make sure you subscribe to the website so you can get one of those free opt-ins. So go to this link and you can get this opt-in. Type this in and you will be able to get free footwork. And if you want to use this, you'll be able to get an insight as to that back foot training and front foot training and things that matter in boxing. So subscribe, go there, type that in, bit.ly/footwork without the O for free footwork, and check that out. And it's like I said, it gives you insight. There's a difference in front foot and back foot and why they're utilized. You'll get certain clips that'll show you just the understanding of boxing and footwork, and that will change and channel your whole thought process about boxing. So hopefully that was good enough for you to gnaw on. So type that in. I'm about to take it off the screen because it's time to get it popping. The most complete fighter is, yeah, in a way, we'll see. It's too early. Everybody thinks that when guys are first coming out, and I'm positive that you've never been to a real boxing gym and seen a lot of different highly skilled guys. There were 4 world champions in my gym coming up and 6 gold medal Olympians. And you don't understand skills. Nobody dominates. If you're the best guy in your gym, you're at the wrong gym. All right. So I can speak to what happens in a real boxing gym where real fighters are bred and made. Yeah, I have fighters working and training every day with Manny Pacquiao for years. Guys like Ray Mercer and Oliver McCall and Larry Donald, helping guys like Hassim Rockman, all these training camps and things that I have experienced and understanding that nobody's the best. It's just a lot of great fighters, man. Any given Sunday, you can have your head handed to you in training. So yeah, anyway, I think he's good. I wouldn't say Wilder isn't not good. I mean, he's 41, 2-1 with 41 knockouts. Name another fighter with a record that impressive. There is no one with a knockout record that impressive. So that's it, man. That's all I got. I told you it was going to be one of the most epic shows for those who want to learn the science of boxing and really get insight to that fight. We try to break it down. And what we're going to do next week, we're going to make sure that people understand from the aspects of referees and what they have to embody and the long count, what is actually going on in the world of referees. We'll have conversation with Jack Reese, Ray Armendariz. These are the top in the business, and we'll get to really chop it up with you. And that's what's so amazing about the Fight Show, because it's all about the fans. Until next time, continue blessings and special shouts out to my brothers in the School of Boxing. where class is always in session and we teach boxing. So long, guys. Subscribe for more boxing knowledge. Peace.